I'm John Walsh, and I've dedicated my entire life to locking up the worst criminals. Since 1988, we've caught 1,191 fugitives.
We're tracking down one of the most ruthless gangs of lawbreakers we've ever gone after,
including several of the FBI's most wanted. And we've reunited dozens of missing children with their families. But the job continues, and this time, my son Callahan joins the fight. With your help, we're going to put more low-life criminals behind bars, including these that you'll see tonight. Up first, a nursing student vanishes in the night before her body turns up in the North Carolina woods, and the man suspected of killing her is on the run. Then, authorities bust a sophisticated drug ring on the East Coast, but one of its dangerous alleged traffickers manages to escape. We need your help to find Samuel Rhodes. And finally, a DNA match that shocks investigators on both coasts. Have you seen the man police say is wanted for this mother of five's gruesome murder? America's Most Wanted is the original true crime series. You can run, but you can't hide. I'm John Walsh.
And I'm Callahan Walsh. And this is America's Most Wanted.
Tonight, thanks to your incredible tips, the AMW catch counter is up to 1,192 captures. We put another dangerous fugitive behind bars. Now, 2 weeks ago, we asked for your help finding Davy Albaran. He went on the run after being charged with child abuse, molestation, and sexual battery of his own family members who were minors.
When his two adult daughters found out what he had done, they made it their mission to find him and get his victims justice.
So this is my father. He's Osceola's most wanted for his crimes against kids.
When his last victim came out, who happened to be my daughter, everything came out.
So I found out last year that my father hurt my niece. I got upset and I posted this on Facebook. Like, in a matter of hours, this was viral.
I just want to give a big thank you to everyone who's been helping us and supporting us. That means a lot to my family and I.
Anna and John Ady's story was so inspiring. I knew America's Most Wanted could help catch their father. What would you want to say to him?
How dare you? How dare you? I trusted you with what was most precious to me. You know, I just turn yourself in. That's all I can say. Turn yourself in. We're not going to stop.
He's on my personal top 10, and I never quit. We never quit.
Thank you so much.
After our show aired, tips started coming in, placing Albaran in the Tampa, Florida area, specifically in the town of Lakeland. Just before midnight on February 18th, authorities surrounded a house belonging to one of Albaran's relatives. Two Polk County Sheriff's deputies and their canine partner caught Albaran in the backyard. Thanks to some quick police work, your tips, and the dedicated work of his own daughters, Davy Albaran was finally behind bars. Any scumbag who harms a child is nothing short of a monster in my book.
Davy's daughters, Anna and John Ady, are so grateful to all of you at home.
Thank you to America's Most Wanted and anybody who called in with a tip that helped get justice for my daughter.
Thank you to John Walsh and to Callahan Walsh and to everybody there at America's Most Wanted.
And we did it!
Now, that's one more fugitive off the streets, and we know tonight, with your help, we can get that number even higher. Now, to our first case.
A young woman immigrates to America to rebuild her life after a personal loss, then mysteriously disappears. She had a really bright future, studying to be a nurse, and made an impression on everyone she met, including the man allegedly responsible for a crime so callous, so brutal, it landed him a spot on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted.
Truc Quan Lai Lee, we know her as Sandy. She was from Vietnam and she came here to live with relatives in Charlotte after the death of her mother.
Sandy was a very good student. She was going to school at Queens College and she was studying nursing.
She worked at a Greek restaurant, a chain here called Shomar's.
Everybody just had nothing but fantastic things to say about Sandy.
Sandy bonded quickly with her co-workers, especially Alex Castillo, who she started dating. Their relationship ended in April 2016 when Sandy stopped working in the restaurant to focus on school and continue her dream of becoming a nurse.
On August 9th, Sandy told her family she was running out about 8:45 at night to the local store to pick up something. They were very troubled when she didn't return home because Sandy is very accountable. This just is not like her.
When Sandy didn't return home the next morning, her family filed a missing persons report.
Detectives started looking through Sandy's iPad, and we discovered some conversations between Sandy and Alex. Sandy had loaned Alex $1,000 about 2 months prior. She wanted her money back. On August 9th, he communicated, "Hey, I got your $1,000. Let's meet up."
As we follow up on Sandy's bank records, we recognize that the night that Sandy goes missing, one of her cards has been used at an ATM to make a large withdrawal.
She withdraws another $1,000. That stumps us because the original meetup plan from Alex was to return money, yet she is at the ATM withdrawing more money. But she does not appear to be under any duress.
2 days after Sandy's disappearance, and with still no leads, police and family members continued their search of the greater Charlotte area. Meanwhile, 2 other Showmars employees are also reported missing by their families.
Charlotte Mecklenburg 911.
I want report I lost my son. No me contesta el teléfono. Su teléfono está apagado.
Alex Castillo and Amia Feaster, who Alex was now in a relationship with, have not returned home or responded to calls and texts in almost 48 hours.
When 3 young folks go missing at the same time and there's no explanation, it's not just family members that become concerned. That certainly starts sending up alarm bells for us as well.
Then on August 13th, 4 days after Sandy's mysterious ATM withdrawal, and 2 days after Alex and Amia go missing, the investigation makes a shocking turn.
Alex and Amia call their parents individually and let them know that everything's fine, but at no point are they able to explain really where they've gone to and where's Sandy.
Alex and Amia say they've hit the road. They were last seen here at a QT gas station on the east side of Charlotte on August 10th at 4:33 in the morning. But since Alex was the last person believed to see Sandy in person, detectives think the couple could be hiding what they know about her disappearance.
The Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department reached out to the FBI to assist in a missing person investigation. We gathered information from speaking to relatives of Amia and Alex, and that they were trying to go see his father in Aguas Calientes, Mexico.
We obtained video of them crossing over the border.
You see Alex and you see Amia. It looks like they were packed, ready to go. It was planned.
With confirmation that Alex and Amia crossed into Mexico, detectives still needed to find Sandy.
Charlotte police utilized every possible resource from the helicopter, canine, patrol, you name it, to actively look for Sandy. Based on phone records, Sandy received a text shortly before midnight on August 9th. And from that, we were able to track her last location. And we were able to zone in on an area close to the woods in Harrisburg, North Carolina.
On August 17th, a day after Alex and Amia escaped to Mexico, and 8 days after Sandy made her fateful ATM withdrawal, investigators make a shocking discovery deep in the Carolina woods.
Sandy's body was discovered. Sandy had been shot in the back of the head. This was now a homicide investigation.
Those are the words that no parent, no family member ever wants to hear, because when someone you love goes missing, you hold on to the hope that they're out there alive.
And that's why we talk about this so much at the National Center. Time really is of the essence. If you believe your child or teenager has gone missing or has been abducted, call local law enforcement immediately.
Now, when we come back, a planned escape and surprise betrayal that gave investigators a lead they weren't expecting. Plus, the FBI is offering a $25,000 reward for information that will lead to the arrest of this man, an alleged key figure in a large-scale international drug ring. And later on, two thieves in Tampa target multiple valet stands, stealing the keys and driving off with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of luxury cars. Help us find these creeps before they do it again. And remember, you can make a difference. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. Now, before the break, we saw a missing persons case turn into a homicide investigation. And the two people who were thought to be with her became fugitives, and one of them wanted for murder. So let's see why police need your eyes and ears now more than ever. 2 months have passed since Sandy Lee was found murdered deep in the Carolina woods. Their co-workers, Alex Castillo and Amia Feaster, escaped to Mexico, but as the pair try to evade authorities, troubles arise.
Amia Feaster was living with Alex's family in Mexico. She did not speak the language, and it was a lot different than she was accustomed to. In the beginning of October, it's believed that Alex left her. Here she is with a family that she doesn't know, no money, and I think she missed home. Amia Feaster turned herself in. And from there, we coordinated the apprehension to get her back to the States. She does admit that she did drop Alex off to meet Sandy. A robbery was planned. They were already packed. They were already ready to go to Mexico. There is text exchange between Alex and Amia. Alex was telling her to hold on, that he was doing something with the evidence. She 100% knew that Sandy was dead. So Amia Feaster was charged with accessory after the fact of a felony, which is the murder of Sandy. We are still looking for Alex.
To the best of our knowledge, we believe that Alex is still in Mexico. We know that he's got a strong support system there.
Sandy was just a phenomenal person. This case was senseless. It was brutal. It was calculating. And this one here is one that will always stay with me.
I don't think Sandy's family will ever lose hope in Alex being apprehended and brought to justice.
We're joined now by Joe Petito, who, like me, knows the pain of losing a child all too well. Joe, thanks so much for being here.
No problem, John.
Good to
Appreciate
see
it. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Now, social media had a big part to find Gabby. And in our case tonight, it's surveillance. You know, Joe, that surveillance video is what helped track Castillo to Mexico. And pinging Sandy's phone helped find her body. These are new techniques that are so helpful. Technology has really changed the game, hasn't it?
It does make a difference. Social media was a huge impact on helping us find Gabby, you know, and it's a huge tool that people can leverage to find their missing loved ones. And the more you can try to get that exposure out there, the better your chances would be.
Now, you founded the Gabby Petito Foundation in 2021 after your daughter went missing. And I know you work with local groups as well, searching for missing children. What can communities do in cases like that to help?
The more exposure you get, the more people that get, you know, that have eyes on these missing flyers, the more that gets shared. The more that gets shared, the more maybe local or even national news will pick up those stories. And that's what you really want. And that's why stories and stuff that you guys do is important, because it gets, you know, their faces out there. Like the one that we're talking about here, getting his name out there and a picture out there on a national, you know, broadcast is hopefully going to have that huge impact to find him and bring him to justice, because Sandy's family deserves that.
Absolutely. That's what we're all about.
Investigators told us that Sandy's family found some comfort in the fact that her body was able to be recovered. What would you tell her family? How do they keep going?
You and I talked about this. How do you take a tragic loss and deal with it?
No, that's it. You actually gave me some of the best advice, you know, during that time. And you can go down that dark path, or you can go to kind of what you do, the pain into purpose type of deal, you know, and really try to focus on healing that way. And that's something that I do. That would be my recommendation. I don't know what's going to work for them. And to be honest with you, I'm still trying to figure out myself.
God bless you for what you're doing. Your daughter's up there going, go, Dad, go, Dad.
I hope so. You know, I'm hoping at the end of the day, after all the work that we do collectively together and all the help that everyone got and all the support, it's got to continue for others.
Well, keep up the good work. You're making a difference. We're proud of you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for being here.
Cal, thank you very much.
Have you seen Alex Castillo? Alex Castillo is wanted for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution for murder. He's got black hair and brown eyes. He's 5'6", and at the time he was last seen, weighed about 185 pounds. He'd be 25 years old now, and we have an AMW age progression of what he may look like today, both with and without facial hair. Authorities have a strong reason to believe that Castillo is hiding out in Mexico, but he may be in Aguascalientes, where he has family, or the Mexican states of Guanajuato or Veracruz. It's also possible he's made his way back to the States. He has ties to Phoenix, Arizona, and his last known residence was in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives, and they're offering a reward of up to $250,000 for information that leads to his arrest. Doesn't matter if you live in the U.S. or are friends in Mexico. If you have any information, remember, you can always remain anonymous. Call us or go to our site, 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com.
Coming up next, a small town in West Virginia becomes an unlikely epicenter for narcotics trafficking. And in the middle of all of it, one man who police need your help to find. Have you seen Samuel Rose? And later on, a woman is murdered on the East Coast, and the DNA from the scene links the suspect to an assault 5 months earlier on the opposite side of the country. And the dangerous suspect is still out there. But first up throughout the show tonight, we'll be featuring local crimes that we need your help to solve, maybe right where you live. Police need your help tracking down a pair of suspects who have recently stolen luxury vehicles from more than one valet in the Tampa, Florida area, in possibly up to 5 related incidents. Watch this surveillance video of the pair from last summer, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, casing the unattended valet stand before brazenly grabbing the keys in plain view of everyone around them. Take a good look. Without anybody suspecting, one locates the car in the lot and waits for his buddy to drive right out of there. Here they are again a month later, helping themselves to keys from the valet stand before hopping in another car that doesn't belong to them and driving away. Police say these two may be allegedly responsible for 5 different incidents of vehicle theft, including a Land Rover Discovery, a Mercedes C63, and a Lamborghini. If you've seen either one of these lowlifes, call us or send us your tips right now. 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. Now, the number one goal for AMW is to find fugitives, but also to find as many missing children as we possibly can and reunite them safely with their families. So this week, we need your help to find 13-year-old Noelle Sophie Zizi. Noelle's from Kennesaw, Georgia, but maybe in Dallas, Texas. She has brown eyes and black hair. And when she was last seen, she was 4'1" and weighed between 90 and 100 pounds. Noelle went missing in October 2021. So if you've seen Noelle Zizi, please call us or send your tips to 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. Let's get her home safe and back with her family where she belongs. Cal, over to you.
Martinsburg, West Virginia is known for its historic past. Walking down Main Street, you'll find buildings standing from the 1700s. But these days, the small town feels different, dangerous, and has become a breeding ground for drug traffickers.
Martinsburg, West Virginia is a very friendly, close-knit town, about an hour and a half from Baltimore, Maryland, and about the same proximity from Washington, D.C., where you really do get to know your neighbors. Unfortunately, our proximity to the cities makes us an easier target in the drug epidemic in our area.
But with a high level of addiction in this state due to its bad job market, dealers and suppliers in large cities look at us as a cash cow in a sense. A lot of the local dealers that we see in West Virginia are children that grow up in the juvenile justice system that we've dealt with when they were students, engaged in low-level drug transactions, and as they become adults, they become higher-level drug dealers, like Sammy Rose. Samuel Rose is a community member that grew up here in Martinsburg. He's a very intelligent person who used that high level of intelligence in his criminal activity.
And unfortunately, we've had dealings with Sammy Rose through the years.
He's been involved in violent crimes for years.
In 2000, he committed armed robbery, pistol whipping an individual.
In 2007, Samuel Rose was selling crack. He was prosecuted federally, was sentenced, and he ended up serving approximately 8 years imprisonment. When he was in prison, Samuel Rose's drug connections increased and grew. So when he was released after serving his sentence, the 8-year hiatus actually increased his drug dealing in the area. We started to investigate using a confidential informant who could directly purchase from Samuel Rose.
Those controlled purchases allow us to follow through surveillance and learn that Samuel Rose was accessing larger quantities of narcotics than we had known him to access before his arrest.
Eventually, we are able to apply to the court for a wiretap on his cellular device. And that really gave us a breakthrough in being able to determine the breadth of his drug trafficking network. There would be calls to obtain cocaine, lining up where these transactions would occur.
Were you still on the side? Or did you get on the side yet? Well, I'm about to come on your side now. Send me the attic.
That ended up leading us to an appliance business in Hagerstown, Maryland, known as Top 3 Sources. Top 3 Sources looks like an appliance store that could be on any street in America. They advertised that they would sell on credit, they had a showroom, and they also had a seemingly legitimate bank account. And through surveillance of Top 3 Sources, we saw appliance shipments at odd hours of the night. And it appears that shipments are coming from a connection within the Dominican Republic. So that was suspicious.
We intercepted communications regarding drugs being trafficked from the Dominican Republic. We learned that the organization was concealing the drugs in the appliances, washing machines, dishwashers, dryers, refrigerators, often concealed in the frame of those appliances. Those appliances are then packed into large sea containers, shipped up to a port here in the United States. Those sea containers are loaded onto trucks and then transported to Hagerstown, Maryland, where Top 3 Sources was located.
Through our investigation, we learned that Sammy would obtain large sources of supply and distribute them in the Martinsburg area.
At this point, we understand that Samuel Rose is a member of a much larger organization.
The owner of Top 3 Sources was identified as Lenin Erasmo Lunamoto, also known as Poppy. He was at the head of the drug trafficking organization. His right-hand man was Juan Manuel de la Rosa Tejada, and he was known as Little Poppy.
In this organization, Sammy Rose plays the role of the West Virginia drug distributor. It's a huge role for the organization because all the money that comes from places like Martinsburg, West Virginia, makes its way into the organization through the drug sales of Sammy Rose.
At this point, we had been involved in the investigation for almost a year. We learned that Top 3 Sources had residential units, and at least one housed Little Poppy. So we were able to obtain a search warrant for Top 3 Sources. When officers search, they find a significant amount of drugs stored in the appliances. There was approximately 1 kilogram of fentanyl, a significant quantity of crack, and then also about 8 kilograms of cocaine.
Arresting Little Poppy was a huge accomplishment. Taking that individual out of the equation was going to have a huge impact for this organization's activities here in West Virginia. The next step is to remove Samuel Rose.
We're seeing an unprecedented crackdown on high-level drug traffickers right now.
Last year, in what they called Operation Blue Lotus, Homeland Security seized 900 pounds of fentanyl and 600 pounds of methamphetamines at the southwest border. And keeping that off the streets, well, that's tremendous, because it's not just this poison, it's what comes with it. Violent crime, illegal gun trafficking, and death. It's a whole package.
Which is exactly why we need your help finding Samuel Rose.
Now, don't go anywhere, because when we come back, officers have put their lives on the line to bring down Rose's operation in a risky raid. We'll see what happens next. Then, he acted alone, changing his identity, keeping a stunning secret for his entire life. A case we even featured right here on AMW way back in 2010. Bank robber turned fugitive Ted Conrad. You won't want to miss this. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. Now, before the break, authorities had tracked a West Virginia drug ring all the way to the Dominican Republic, a sophisticated operation using appliances to hide and transport the supply. And they were preparing a risky raid, looking to bust Samuel Rose and the men he was working with. Let's see how it all went down.
The amount of drugs seized from the top 3 appliance store was easily over $500,000 worth just in one particular day of what this business was doing.
Ultimately, we were able to indict 34 individuals in this investigation, to include Sammy Rose. When our officers went out to effect his arrest, we were unable to locate him. At that time, we realized that Sammy Rose is on the run.
2 years after the indictment, in September of 2023, the owner of Top 3 Sources, Lennon Erasmo Lunamoto, also known as Poppy, was finally found and arrested in the Dominican Republic, and he was sent to the United States to face charges.
Sammy Rose is the last major player from this organization that we've yet to apprehend.
We know he has family and friends in the area, so we do not believe that he would stray far from some type of support network.
The FBI has put forth a reward in the amount of $25,000 for any information that leads to the successful apprehension of Sammy Rose. He's been involved in drug trafficking. He's been involved in violent crimes. We believe that Sammy Rose is a very dangerous individual. He's on the run, and he does not want to be apprehended. That's why this is very important to us, that we can get this threat off of the streets.
Now we're joined by someone who knows firsthand how drug trafficking works and has put many of these types of criminals behind bars. Former DEA agent Bill Bodner.
Great to be here, guys.
Nice to meet you, and congratulations on 32 years on a really dangerous job. What's the craziest case you ever did?
You know, one of the funniest things I was ever involved with was in the 90s. A group from the Medellin cartel, they were smuggling cocaine from Los Angeles to New York. They had purchased Willie Nelson's old tour bus at an auction, complete with the Highwaymen mural on the back, and they used that every week to run hundreds of kilos of cocaine from LA to New York.
So ingenious some of these guys are.
The ingenuity in smuggling is almost without limits. They will do anything that works. Using appliances, using any kind of heavy equipment, industrial equipment, something that's not really going to be searched because it looks so innocent, and it's able to be packed in a container and shipped by freight.
In this case, the drug ring was out of the Dominican Republic. They were highly sophisticated. What kind of manpower does it take to run an operation like that?
It takes a lot of manpower. Like, this is obviously a large, complex organization. And we saw the indictment of 30 plus individuals. That's a lot of work to put that type of case together.
How crucial is Rose's alleged part in this drug ring?
It's extremely crucial, John. He is the man. He's the one that can convert the drugs to cash. Don't forget, these are greed-based businesses. The real reason they're doing this is because they're greedy. They want to make money. He's the one that has the customers, and he can turn that product into cash. He's a valuable person in this conspiracy.
Back in the day, it was the big boys only. Now it's into these little towns, and it devastates these towns.
Especially in West Virginia. I mean, they were hit hard by the prescription opiate epidemic in the late 90s, early 2000s. And as a nation, as we tightened up on the prescriptions, the demand was still there. So what happened? The drug dealers recognized that, and they started stepping in, filling that void since that time.
We know Rose had most of his ties in West Virginia. In your opinion, do guys like him stay in that area where he has connections, or do you think he's on the run somewhere else?
He's probably in the Middle Atlantic region, Cal, and I suspect that he's got a taste of the life from drug trafficking. If he needs money, he's going to still be involved in drug trafficking, probably working with some of the contacts he has in the area.
So you think he's still involved in this now?
He very well could be.
Well, thank you for your hard work.
And thank you for what you do. You got me interested in law enforcement in the late 80s, and that's why I had the career I had.
Fantastic. Thanks for your hard work all these years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Samuel Rose is 43 years old with black hair and brown eyes. He's 5'8", and when he was last seen, weighed about 165 to 190 pounds. He has a scar on his stomach and a barbed wire tattoo on his left arm. Rose is facing multiple felony drug charges, including aiding and abetting the distribution of heroin and fentanyl. He has close ties to Martinsburg, West Virginia, and the surrounding areas of Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Maryland, and Prince George's County, Maryland. If you see Rose or have any idea where he might be, do not approach him. He's considered armed and dangerous and has a history of violence. Call us or send us your tips now at 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com.
Next, a murder in Maryland is linked to an assault 4 months earlier way across the country in Los Angeles. Can you help us identify this dirtbag? Plus, a dying confession unlike any other. This fugitive reveals his real identity to his family. All this when we come back.
Last August, a 37-year-old Maryland mother of 5 went for a hike and never came home. She was reported missing, and the next day was found brutally murdered in a wooded area just off the hiking trail. When authorities collected and ran the DNA evidence that was found on her body, it was linked to an assault case that happened all the way across the country in Los Angeles just a few months prior. Can you help us find the man responsible for both?
Rachel, I know that when people looked at her, they saw how pretty she was, but what made her special was the part of her that shined through. Her personality. She was very kind and loving, very outgoing, always laughing.
Rachel Morin was a single mother of 5 kids who ran her own business, a cleaning company. And on August 5th, 2023, she headed out on the Ma and Pa Trail around 6:30 in the evening. When she didn't come home, her family knew right away that something wasn't right. The next day, her car was found, still parked at the trailhead. And soon after, so was her body.
We're never going to be able to have Rachel back. Our children are never going to have a mother to watch them grow up. It's broken our family apart.
Since Saturday, August 5th, 12 days ago, the Harford County Sheriff's Office has been working around the clock to get justice for Rachel Morin and hopefully bring peace to her family.
Authorities didn't have much to go on, but they collected DNA samples from Rachel's body. This DNA was put into the National DNA Database used by law enforcement, and what they discovered next would baffle everyone.
This DNA evidence has come back as a match, tied to a home invasion and assault of a young girl in Los Angeles this past March.
Hartford police were shocked to find that Rachel's killer had left a DNA trail behind in South Los Angeles. They learned that on March 26, 2023, he had entered a Los Angeles home and attacked a young girl. He was captured leaving the house by a home surveillance camera. The suspect left behind a hat, which is how the LAPD was able to obtain his DNA.
Not to have any real definite information about what happened to Rachel. It's like we have no hope. We have no closure.
These victims and their families deserve justice, and we need your help to get it. Now again, the first incident tied to this suspect happened in Los Angeles on March 26th of last year. 4 months later, on August 6th, Rachel Morin was found dead along the Ma and Pa Trail in Bel Air, Maryland, and the DNA from that crime scene matched the DNA from the incident in LA. This was a mother who left behind 5 kids. It's very possible that there are more victims out there. But recently, authorities released a couple sketches of the suspect, so take a good, long look at this guy. In one of them, he's wearing a hat, similar to the one left behind at the crime scene in Los Angeles. He's described as a male in his 20s, who's 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighs about 160 pounds. There is a $35,000 reward for any information that leads to the identification and arrest of the man that murdered Rachel Morin. Please, if you know anything, contact us immediately. Do the right thing. Call 866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com. And we have a very interesting vault case this week. Dad?
Now this one is pretty special. In 1969, Ted Conrad walked out of the Society National Bank with a paper bag containing $215,000. More than 50 years later, as he lay dying, his daughter Ashley was shocked to find out that her father had committed one of the biggest bank robberies in the history of Cleveland, Ohio, and had lived his entire life under a different identity to avoid arrest. We're going to talk to her about this mind-blowing discovery and what it meant for her family. But first, take a look at this clip from an episode of America's Most Wanted that aired in 2010.
Another fugitive who could be anywhere tonight is Ted Conrad, an all-American kid with boyish good looks and charm to match. Conrad grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. In 1969, he got a summer job.
Ted Conrad had been the vault teller at Society National Bank.
But he had bigger dreams.
Ted Conrad had been obsessed with a movie known as the Thomas Crown Affair. And his friends tell us he watched it at least 6 times. And the movie was all about a bank heist. And it appears that Ted Conrad may have modeled himself after that.
According to the FBI, on July 11, 1969, Conrad left the bank with his lunch bag. Inside of it, $215,000. When tellers realized the money was gone, they noticed Conrad was missing too. The daring robbery made national news, but Conrad vanished. If you know where Ted Conrad's hiding, please call our hotline to take him down.
Now we're joined by Ashley Randall, Thomas Randall, a.k.a. Ted Conrad's daughter. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, Ashley. You know, for 52 years, your father hid his identity, was running from the law. I mean, you had no idea this was going on.
We had no idea. My dad was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer in the spring of 2021. And about a month before he passed away, he said, "Ladies, I changed my name when I moved here. The authorities are probably still looking for me."
And you two passed out. No, what?
We thought at first it was a weird dad joke, like trying to lighten the mood. I Googled him that evening, and I just found page after page of, vault teller robs bank. He's been missing for 50 years.
Right.
U.S. Marshals were looking for him. That was terrifying to me, that he was still actively being hunted. It was heartbreaking because it felt like the guy I knew was being erased by one day in his life.
Did you ever find out what he did with the money?
By the time he got together with my mom in the late 70s, the money was gone.
So Ashley, how did the Marshals piece it all together?
Somebody, I still don't know who, sent my dad's obituary to a crime writer in Ohio, who then passed that along to the marshal. And then I believe that they matched handwriting samples from my dad's college applications, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then my parents filed for bankruptcy in 2014, so they had his signature on public record there.
Were there any signs that your father was capable of something like this, eluding law enforcement for as long as he did?
Absolutely not. He was just the best dad.
Yeah.
Somebody who drove me to school every day. He made my lunch every day. He was the dad that's there for you. But him being fluent in French and keeping that a secret is somehow more shocking than him being a fugitive.
He spoke fluent French and you guys didn't know the whole lifetime?
He helped me with my French homework the way any parent who doesn't speak French
never started spouting out in French.
No. The one thing I have from him was when I was learning to count, he would say the way to remember 16 is because when you're 16, you says everything. That's his French knowledge he imparted on me.
He's got to be the most disciplined fugitive I've ever heard of. Well, thank you for having the guts to come here, clear up all this mystery. We profiled your dad on America's Most Wanted, so it closes that chapter, and I'm glad he didn't go on to a life of crime or hurt anybody else.
As am I.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
When we return, a recap of all the dangerous fugitives from tonight's show. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Horrifying surveillance video of a midday murder in cold blood. It happened last September on the 7300 block of 19th Street in Philadelphia. Police have now ID'd the shooter, 39-year-old Rodney Zellers, and need your help to find him as soon as possible. Watch as the suspect gets out of a 2012 blue Ford Edge, makes his way across the street to the 26-year-old victim, gun in hand. From another angle, we see Zellers walk right up to the victim and fire several shots, striking him several times in the torso before running back to the 2012 blue Ford Edge with PA tags, LLM 6974, where an unknown female driver is waiting for him. As soon as Zellers gets in, they quickly flee the scene. The victim died from his injuries soon afterward. Philadelphia police are offering a reward of $20,000 for any information that leads to the arrest of the suspect, Rodney Zellers. Take another good look at him. He's a 39-year-old black male, 5 feet 9 inches tall, and weighing 350 pounds. You seen this scumbag? If so, send us your tips. 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com.
Now, if you know anything about any of the fugitives you've seen tonight, please do the right thing and contact us immediately. Alex Castillo is one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. He's now 25 years old and is 5'6" with black hair and brown eyes, and when last seen weighed 185 pounds. He may currently be in Aguascalientes, Mexico, or in the states of Guanajuato or Veracruz. He also has ties to Phoenix, Arizona. We have age progressions of what Castillo may look like today, and there's a reward of up to $250,000 for information that leads directly to his arrest.
Now, Samuel Rose is 43 years old with black hair and brown eyes. He's 5'8", and when last seen weighed between 165 and 190 pounds. He's got a scar on his stomach and a barbed wire tattoo on his left arm. Rose has ties to Martinsburg, West Virginia, and the surrounding areas of Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Prince George's County, Maryland.
And finally, this unidentified suspect linked to an assault on a young woman in Los Angeles and the murder of Rachel Morin. Take a really good look. He's a male in his 20s who's around 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighs around 160 pounds. DNA evidence puts him in Los Angeles in March and in Maryland as of August 2023. But authorities think he could be anywhere, and police need your help.
And remember, even the smallest tip could break these cases wide open, so please, stay on the lookout.
If you have any information about these cases, call us or go to our website now, 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. I'm Callahan Walsh.
And I'm John Walsh. Thanks a lot for watching, and remember, you can make a difference. Good job. I'm John Walsh, and I've dedicated my entire life to locking up the worst criminals. Since 1988, we've caught 1,191 fugitives.
We're tracking down one of the most ruthless gangs of lawbreakers we've ever gone after,
including several of the FBI's most wanted. And we've reunited dozens of missing children with their families. But the job continues, and this time, my son Callahan joins the fight. With your help, we're going to put more low-life criminals behind bars, including these that you'll see tonight. Up first, Gordon Machik thought he made a new friend in Eddie Perez, but the first day that they had plans was also the last day the police say Gordon was ever seen. Can you help us find Edgardo Luis Perez? Then, this high-level drug trafficker helped an infamous prison gang destroy a small town in Georgia. It's time to get David Young behind bars where he belongs. And finally, years of tension between a man and his ex-girlfriend's son reached a tipping point and ends in murder. Now authorities need your help to locate Tajon Gill. America's Most Wanted is the original true crime series. You can run, but you can't hide. Hello, everyone. I'm John Walsh.
And I'm Callahan Walsh.
And this is America's Most Wanted. We are back tonight with a new roster of fugitives that we really need your help to find.
Our incredible team of investigators, both local and state police and the FBI, are right here ready for your tips. Remember, no tip is too small. Call 866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com. We promise you can remain anonymous. Now tonight, we have a very special guest. Cold case investigator Payne Lindsay is here to discuss our first fugitive. Let's get into it.
Now, in 2001, a 56-year-old Michigan man went missing under suspicious circumstances. The day he disappeared was also the day he had planned to spend with a new friend, 19-year-old Eddie Perez, a new friend who police say happened to have a shady past. Take a look.
Gordon was a soft-spoken gentleman.
In 2001, Mr. Metrick was a former Chrysler employee who was a designer.
Gordon could work with any kind of medium. He was a creative genius. Jim was Gordon's partner. They lived together over 25 years. Because we went so often from their house to our house, we wore a path through the woods.
Jim was in Florida to meet with the contractors in Tampa to start building their dream home.
When Jim was in Florida, Gordon had called Jim and told him he was going to spend the day with an individual named Eddie. Gordon had met Eddie at the gym, and they were going to go on a bike ride together. On October 22nd, 2001, it had been several days since Jim heard from Gordon. He had called him numerous times, and Gordon hadn't answered the phone, which was completely out of character for him. And later, Jim received a phone call from their credit card company. They indicated there was numerous transactions that were in Mexico.
I got a phone call from Jim who was worried about Gordon. The next day, I told him that I'll go over and check it out.
Gordon?
And nothing seemed to be out of order. And there was no luggage missing.
Gordon?
Jim asked me to put in a missing person report.
Jim immediately flew back to Michigan.
When detectives responded to do a walkthrough, they discovered numerous things that weren't right to Jim. Jim stated a large butcher knife was missing, and detectives discovered a 6-foot piece of carpet cut out in the basement. In addition to that, they observed an antique steamer trunk was missing. Using an alternate light source and luminol, they discovered a large portion of blood present on the cement floor where the carpet had been removed. There was also heavy drag marks in the cement floor that we believe was from the steamer trunk. During an exterior search of the home, they found a tarp in the back of Gordon's van, droplets of blood on the tarp, and heavy drag marks inside the van on the carpet that are consistent with the drag marks on the cement floor. It leads detectives to believe that we have a homicide investigation. Detectives had learned from Jim that Gordon was going to spend the day with an individual named Eddie he had met at the gym. That definitely sets off alarms with detectives. There's more to this than what meets the eye.
I want to talk about the first red flag that something wasn't right in this case. That call that Gordon's partner Jim received about their credit cards being used in Mexico.
Exactly, and that's what first raised suspicions around Gordon's whereabouts. But anytime you get a call that there's been a charge you didn't make on your credit card or a bill for an item you didn't buy, pay attention, investigate further, and check your credit report on a regular basis.
Now, Gordon went missing in 2001, and things move a lot quicker these days, especially with identity theft. So protect yourself by staying aware.
Now, we still have a lot to learn about Perez, but I want to make sure that the viewers know what he looks like now, more than 20 years later. Let's take a look at an AMW age progression of Perez. And here's another one with longer hair and a goatee. Take a good look.
Now, when we come back, friends and family of Gordon had a feeling that something bad had happened that day. But they were about to find out how bad it really was. And we get a chance to talk to a cold case investigator and podcaster, Payne Lindsay, and hear his take on this heartbreaking story. Plus, one of the biggest drug gang busts in Georgia state history. Now we need your help to find the only one authorities haven't. High-level drug trafficker David Young. And later on, a terrifying attack in an underground parking garage in Los Angeles. And it's not the first time this guy has done this. Now, you could be the reason this lowlife gets put behind bars where he belongs. And remember, you can make a difference. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. The circumstances around Gordon Matchik's disappearance were definitely suspicious, but once his friends and loved ones noticed a large piece of their carpet and a knife from the kitchen missing, the panic really set in. Something wasn't right. Let's see what was wrong with Gordon's new friend, Eddie Perez.
During the search of Gordon's house, detectives observed Gordon's day planner, and inside that day planner, on October 20th, 2001, and the day we believe Gordon disappeared, was the name Edgardo Perez with his phone number listed. And we believe Edgardo Perez is Eddie, who Gordon had met at the gym. Detectives looked into Edgardo's criminal history and discovered that he was on probation for impersonating a police officer and robbery. When detectives searched Edgardo's residence, they found numerous books inside his bedroom. How to become a fugitive, how to make fake IDs, and how to steal someone's identity. After Gordon's disappearance, he called Gordon's stockbroker, and on that call, he impersonated Gordon with the attempt to liquidate his stock account.
Can I get your name, please?
Gordon Matchik. I'm trying to liquidate a couple of positions.
He was unsuccessful.
Typically, when we see an identity theft today, it is a remote crime. People are accessing your computer to take over your identity and steal your finances. Mr. Perez's alleged con was essentially a very old one where they slide up next to the victim and get them to trust them and then defraud them.
When detectives interviewed Edgardo's friends, they indicated that he searches out older gay men because they are easy targets to steal their money and identification.
He had used Mr. Matchik's credit card to buy a flight to San Diego. He was spotted in the San Diego airport on surveillance footage. We were able to track Mr. Perez crossing over the U.S. border.
The last credit card charge on Gordon's credit card was to a hotel in Tijuana, Mexico.
Mexican National Police attempted to locate him, but he had already left the hotel. Mr. Perez was last seen with another male holding his hand shortly after he had arrived in Mexico. So it's believed he was likely targeting this individual for a similar crime.
Someone had murdered Gordon, put him in the trunk, and disposed the body, which to this day, no one knows where the body is. What I would like to see is we find Eddie Perez, and he is convicted and spends the rest of his life in prison, rotting away.
Now, this case may be over 20 years old, but it's never too late to answer questions here on America's Most Wanted. We've seen it a couple of times, haven't we, Cal?
Absolutely.
All right, now we're joined by cold case investigator and podcaster Payne Lindsay. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you. Likewise.
Tell us about a cold case you helped solve.
Yeah, the first season of my podcast, Up and Vanished, was about Tara Grinstead from South Georgia. It was a decade-long mystery, and eventually the podcast shook the trees hard enough in that small town that someone came forward with a tip that ended up resulting in 2 suspects being arrested, one for her murder and both for disposing of her body. The most that I can do as a journalist, investigator, is just piece together the information.
I went through it, 27 years it took to solve my son's murder, and basically solved it with some friends ourselves.
There are some parallels between the Machik case and with your case from Georgia. You harnessing that community and getting those tips. How do you think the small town community here in this case can help solve it?
I mean, I think that it's only natural for some people to feel afraid to get involved in a murder case.
Right.
They're worried about their own safety, their own lives. Everyone has work to do. They have to go to school. They have to go take the kids here and there. So I think people are rightfully hesitant sometimes, but I think that you can do the right thing, and maybe it's as simple as a quick phone call, a quick text, and then that was that one missing link that solves everything.
No matter how inconsequential it seems.
Right,
it could be
usually
the
probably
one
does look
thing.
inconsequential, but
Could
it's
be-
not. Yeah.
Now, the last time he was spotted, he was holding another man's hand. Have you come across criminals in the past that sort of repeat similar crimes?
I feel like, especially if you're aspiring to be a con man, right? I don't think that you're going to change very much. I think that if you're starting at that young of an age, that's going to be a part of who you are for a long time, if not ever.
A lot of fugitives on the run will try to change their appearance, but what's difficult to change oftentimes is your voice. Let's replay the audio we heard of that phone call, and you tell me what you hear.
Sure.
Can I get your name, please?
Gordon Machuk. I'm trying to liquidate a couple of positions.
So what stands out to you?
From his voice to the way that he talks, I would imagine that someone who's come across him, or maybe even been conned by him before, would pick up on some of these details, and maybe that's what we need to solve this.
You're doing good work. You're getting justice for families, and you're getting some bad guys off the street.
Absolutely. When I was 9 years old, I was watching your show with my mom, and I guaranteed it had a major influence on, one, probably why I want to do this in the first place, but two, the concept that you can shake the trees and get information from the public if you just really hit it hard and tell them
Absolutely.
that.
And get a bad guy off the streets and get some solace for the family. Keep it up.
Thank you. You're the GOAT, so.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Have you seen Eddie Perez? He's now 41 years old with black hair and brown eyes. He's 5'6", and when last seen, weighed 140 to 160 pounds. Perez has ties to Michigan as well as Indiana, but was last spotted in 2001 in Tijuana, Mexico. A reminder for our friends south of the border, we need your tips too. 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. You can always remain anonymous.
Up next, authorities bust a massive drug gang in Georgia, one of the biggest in the state's history. But in order to close this case for good, they still need to find one gang member that got away. And later on, a showdown between a young man and his mother's ex-boyfriend, and with one of them dead. We'll learn about the story behind this cold-blooded crime and why authorities now need your help to find it. But first up, we need your tips to solve crimes happening all over America, maybe even in your own neighborhood like this one. An ambush in an underground parking garage in an apartment complex in North Hollywood, California. Two men, one with a gun, accost this couple. The first asks the man for his watch, as the second suspect runs in, holding his arms, pushing him into the wall, and as the man resists, attempting to fight back. The first suspect robs the woman and then returns, forcing a gun into the man's stomach. Fearing for his life, he backs down as they take his watch and appear to empty his pockets. Police have identified one of the suspects as Deshaun Dow, a black male, 20 years old. In the past year and a half, he's been arrested 5 times for robbery and managed to post bail at each turn. They even suspect he's responsible for the same type of incident that happened before at this exact location. Let's get this guy off the street once and for all and identify the guy he's working with. If you have any information about him or his whereabouts, call us or go to our site. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. You know, so many out there struggle with drug addiction. And in the past few years, this country has seen the number of deaths from overdoses skyrocket. Thousands of families have been left without their loved ones and without any answers. Now, behind many of these tragic losses are massive criminal organizations with absolutely no regard for human life. And in one small town, that organization was the Ghost-Face Gangsters. Take a look.
Brunswick is located on the coast of Georgia, down at the very southeast corner. I would say it's got a lot going on for what some people view as a small town. It's known for its history, dating back all the way to the beginnings of this country. It has the barrier islands and the shrimping industry.
Despite Brunswick being a picturesque community, in 2020, they started to see an uptick in drug-related deaths.
We really saw methamphetamine hit the streets here in Brunswick. We were responding to an increase of drug overdose calls, and just the daily call volume that we were receiving was pretty significant.
Cops say one of the main reasons for the surge of drugs in their community was a regional street gang called the Ghost-Face Gangsters.
The Ghost-Face Gangster Gang is a prison gang that originated out of the Georgia prisons, and they have ties to violent crimes such as murders, robberies, kidnappings, amongst other things, distributing narcotics into the communities here in Georgia.
We're seeing now that the Ghost-Face Gangster organization, their influence is being exerted outside the prison. Their numbers are expanding into Florida, the entire state of Georgia, and Tennessee.
Despite the Ghost-Face Gang being on the cops' radar for over 10 years in Brunswick, in December 2020, they made the arrest that would soon be a major blow to the gang's operation.
We identified an individual by the name of Matthew Guest as a distributor in our area who has ties to the Ghost-Face Gangster Gang.
Once they had Guest's cell phone, they started to identify more members.
Looking at his telephone devices, one of the things that we uncovered was that members of this organization were using Facebook Messenger to coordinate logistics of their operation.
One of the key players authorities discovered in these social media transactions was Rachel Bird.
Rachel Bird, the drug queenpin, was commonly referred to as the Ice Queen.
Police say one of the gang members who brought kilos of meth from Atlanta to Brunswick was a drug mule named David Young. He had priors going back almost 20 years for everything from burglary to gun charges.
Guys like David Young are violent individuals that do what they got to do to make money and expand their territory.
David Young was also known as Chaos. He was working with Rachel Bird,
basically helping her set up and distribute narcotics in other cities as far as Atlanta, Georgia, and south as Jacksonville, Florida. This operation was well beyond the jurisdiction of here in Glenn County. We realized we needed to bring this to the attention of the FBI.
You know, it's really incredible that the Ghost-Face Gangsters started out as a prison gang and within 15 years transformed into a major player in the southeastern U.S. drug trade.
I think what most Americans may not know is how efficiently these prison gangs operate from behind bars. The influence that they have in the outside world is much more powerful than most of us could ever imagine.
Prison gangs are extremely well organized and have constant communication with the outside world. It's a really intricate network that they've built over the years between the people inside the prison system and the people out on the outside who carry out all their orders.
This scumbag, David Young, is just one of way too many. And the fact that he's still out there and could easily be doing this somewhere else should make us all very angry. We gotta find this guy, and quick.
Now, when we come back, the FBI is on to the Ghost-Face Gangsters, but we'll learn exactly how deeply they are ingrained in small towns all over the Southeast and how much damage they cause an entire community. Plus, in Omaha, thieves stripped multiple Chevys in the middle of the night, taking over $6,000 in parts. Can you help us find them? But right now, we're going back to the America's Most Wanted vault in a similar case to the Ghost-Face Gangsters. Roland Campbell, a former fugitive who was part of a criminal organization called the 40 Thieves. These guys were doing 2 robberies a week and averaging 20 grand for each one of them. We had to broadcast this case 3 times before he was captured. It's a really interesting story. Watch this.
For 5 years, we've been chasing one of the most dangerous organized criminal enterprises in the country, the Gang of 40 Thieves. In October of 1991, a New York robbery task force arrested almost all of the 40 thieves. But Roland Campbell, possibly the most dangerous of them all, slipped away. 2 months later, Campbell was arrested on drug charges in Maryland. He disguised himself as another inmate who was scheduled for release. With his new look, he walked right out of jail. We broadcast his case 3 times. Your tips told us that from Maryland, Roland Campbell fled the country and resurfaced down in San Jose, Costa Rica. In handcuffs, he was driven off to face authorities.
Now, don't forget, you're our partner, and it's your tips that can put even more of these dangerous fugitives behind bars. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. Now, we just saw law enforcement begin to zero in on the prison gang, the Ghostface Gangsters. But the damage it caused, especially by 2 of its members, Queen Pin Rachel Byrd and high-level trafficker David Young, was far more than anyone could have ever imagined. Let's watch how they were able to take them down in one of the largest drug busts in Georgia history.
Typically in these large-scale investigations, you try to identify all the members and identify all the criminal activity that's occurring before you start arresting key members.
With investigators' vast resources and evidence uncovered through the gang's communications, authorities soon had everything they needed to start bringing the Ghostface Gangsters to justice.
The FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office obtained an indictment against 76 individuals for narcotics distribution, which was the largest indictment ever obtained in the Southern District of Georgia.
Arrests soon followed, and up first was the Ice Queen herself, Rachel Byrd.
To this date, all the members that were indicted have been accounted for and arrested except for David Young.
Authorities believe that as long as David Young is at large, he could be setting up a new operation, distributing deadly narcotics and putting another community at risk.
Drugs from people like David Young and the Ghostface Gangster dealers unfortunately resulted in death.
Rebecca Kane and Michael Logue died of overdoses, allegedly due to the Ghostface Gang's operation. Their families posted their obituaries, but there was one more death linked to the gang, Dylan Jones.
Dylan Jones overdosed as a result of methamphetamine. With each overdose we respond to, especially the ones that result in death, we see the pain that it causes on the immediate family. People like David Young that bring narcotics to our community need to be held accountable. We need to send a message.
We're now joined by Chad and Ann Fry, who lost their son Dylan Jones to a drug overdose. The drugs he purchased and his death are directly linked to the Ghostface Gangsters. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Your son worked with you in the landscaping business, right? And how was that? You're working, I'm working with my son.
We had a very close relationship, and we became like dad and friends, so it was really special.
Wonderful, wonderful. Your son had 2 kids. He had Chase and Jackson, 2 little boys. How was that, watching your son become a father?
It was amazing. All the stuff that I had told him, you know, that you'll realize this when you grow up. Finally, when he saw his kids grow up, he said, you know, I understand what you're talking about. And that's probably the most special moment I have of me and my son. Just the last year and a half of Dylan's life was amazing enough. There's so much of what could have been.
And you're remembering all the good stuff. He knows that. He grew up in the house. We celebrated Adam's life. Like you two have such great memories of Dylan. Exactly.
We celebrate his birthday. We try to stay happy and upbeat about his life and not think about what happened or the bad times or anything like that.
And that's important for you, but it's important for the kids too.
Yes.
Walk us through how you found out about Dylan's death.
My youngest son called me and said that Dylan wasn't awake. He wanted to know what to do. I said, well, check his door and make sure he's awake. And when he opened the door, that's when he found Dylan. It's a sound I'll never forget. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You're good.
He said, Mom, I think something's wrong. You need to get over here right now. Dylan is blue on the floor. And he dropped the phone and screamed.
My heart goes out to you, and I know exactly what you're going through.
What would you say to other parents out there that may be struggling with addiction as well in their home?
Never give up.
No, don't give up hope.
The last year and a half or 2 years to watch him
fought
fight
real hard.
to not do drugs made me realize that, I mean, it's not as easy as you think from looking on the outside. I told Dylan when he was clean every day how proud I was of him. And that I just felt like, as a father, that was the best thing I could do, was tell him, I'm proud of you, I'm proud of you, I'm proud of you. And
I'm with you in the fight.
Yep.
Which you were.
Thank you.
Now, you found out this gang was operating right inside your small town. What was it like to find out how big that operation really was?
It was surprising, and it was even more surprising to know that the main player, Rachel Bird, was our next-door neighbor. We had no idea. And
She lived right next door to
she
you.
lived right behind us, yes. You would have never suspected that a large drug operation was running right behind our house, no.
If that dirtbag was watching tonight, this young guy, what would you say?
There's better ways to make a dollar than to, destroy families and people's lives and, like my son.
Somebody watching this show tonight knows where that guy is, and those tattoos are so easy to identify. We're going to put that big white hot spotlight of America's Most Wanted on this dirtbag. We'll do our part. You hang in there.
Thank you.
That bust was huge, resulting in 76 indictments of dangerous drug traffickers. But it won't be complete until we get David Young. He's a dangerous criminal with no regard for human life. Young could easily be involved with another drug trafficking operation, doing the same exact thing somewhere else right now. Take a good look at the face on your screen. David Young is 43 years old with brown hair and brown eyes. He's 6 feet tall and when last seen, weighed around 170 pounds. He's gone by the name Chaos in the past, and he's covered in tattoos, including the entire left side of his face. There's possibly a bird or spider web below his left eye, a symbol above that same eye, some sort of star near his right eye, and what appears to be a child's face on the right side of his neck. Young's been on the run since December 2022, and most of his criminal activity has been in Brunswick, Georgia. But he also has ties to Jessup, Georgia, where he grew up, and Phoenix, Arizona. Young is considered armed and very dangerous. If you see him, do not approach him. And if you have any information on where he may be, please contact us immediately at 866-AMW-TIPS or by visiting us at amwtips.com.
Next, years of building tension between a man and his ex-girlfriend's son ends in a matter of seconds. Police need your help right now. But first, can you help us solve this crime alert? At least 2 thieves, maybe more, stealing Chevy parts in the middle of the night from an Omaha, Nebraska auto shop. It happened January 24th near 90th and Military Road. Watch as the dirtbags drive up in their white Chevy pickup and begin to strip 3 trucks of over $6,000 worth of parts. Mirrors, catalytic converters, steering columns, radios, anything they can get their scummy hands on. Look at them snooping around, loading tons of stolen parts into their truck before taking off from the scene. While we don't have a good shot of their faces, perhaps their truck looks familiar. It's a white Chevy Silverado HD, extended cab, long bed, with some striping or possible scratches on the passenger and possibly also the driver's side of the truck. So if you recognize this truck or know someone selling Chevy parts in your area of Omaha, send us your tips. 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. You can run, but you can't hide. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. You know, one of my main goals here is not just tracking down fugitives, but using our resources to find missing children and help get them safely back to their families. So have you seen this little boy, Terry Lee Boswell? He's been missing since July 2022. Now, Terry is 5 years old, brown hair and brown eyes. He's 3 feet 4 inches tall and was last known to weigh around 50 pounds. He loves dinosaurs and other animals. He was last seen in Melbourne, Arkansas, And he could also be in Springfield or Fairgrove, Missouri, or somewhere in Michigan or in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So if you've seen little Terry, call us right now, 866-AMW-TIPS, or go to amwtips.com. He was allegedly abducted by his mother, who has a federal felony warrant out for her arrest for interference with visitation. Let's bring Terry home to his loving family. Cal, it's over to you.
After years of constant conflict between a man and his ex-girlfriend's son, on the night of October 18th, 2022, things came to an abrupt and violent head. Let's see how it played out.
Sherron always smiling. He was a mama's baby. We were very close. He met Dottie at a club, and they was in a great relationship. And after a couple of months, he found out that she was pregnant with his son, Tony, and he was happy. After their son, Tony, was born, Sherron and Dottie moved in together. And he took in her son, Tajon, as his own. Years later, things changed between Dottie and Sherron. They were having problems and decided to break up. When they separated, they were still living in the same house. Sherron didn't want to leave his son, Tony. Dottie was very angry with Sherron after the breakup. There was a lot of tension in the house. Tajon seemed to grow angry towards Sherron. He loved his mother. Sherron and Tajon get in it because of Dottie. Tajon also allegedly told Sherron that his time is numbered.
On the evening of October 18th, 2022, we heard several pops, which we immediately recognized as gunshots.
One of the calls that dispatch center received was from a female who identified herself as Dorothea Russ.
I need an ambulance right now. Come on, bring!
The officers that first arrived on scene found a male in his mid-40s laying on the ground with several gunshot wounds.
The victim's girlfriend was standing right next to him during the incident. The victim is Sherron Clark.
My job was to start combing through our surveillance camera footage. Watching this incident unfold, the suspect walks up on Sherron Clark, pulls out a handgun from his waistband. The suspect fires one round. You can see Sherron Clark react and then take off running, and the suspect started chasing him, firing him as he's running away.
Dottie called me and said, Sherron has been shot. I said, what do you mean Sherron had been shot? And the nurse called me and told me Sherron did not make it. I feel that I lost everything.
Dorothea Russ was questioned at the hospital and asked if she knew who this possible shooter was. She said she didn't know at the time. But in reviewing the surveillance camera footage, I actually observed her turn around face to face with the suspect. No doubt in my mind that she knew who the suspect was at the time. I sent a clip to the detectives that were interviewing Dorothea Russ and asked them to show her that video. And she said, after watching the surveillance footage, I'm absolutely sure that was my son, Tajon Gill, that shot Sherron Clark. I believe that she was lying to protect her son, but when she was confronted with the evidence, she knew she had to come clean. So Dottie had told us during the interviews that Tajon may have had some type of issue with the way that Sherron was treating Dottie more towards the end of their relationship. So all the anger that he had towards Sherron had finally come to a head that night. This was a deliberate attack on Sherron Clark. I want to be able to give Antoinette closure for losing her son.
Sherron deserved justice. If you knew him, you would say the same thing.
We're joined now by Detective Sean Weaver of the Hagerstown Police Department. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, John.
Now, Hagerstown is a small community. And in small communities, oftentimes the suspect knows the victim. How did that inform your investigation?
In every homicide I've investigated, it's always been some type of a connection between the suspect and the victim. So that always gives us a starting point, especially in this situation. We knew there was a connection.
Now, he's only 19 years old. What are some common characteristics of younger fugitives on the run?
Fortunately, they make decisions on a whim. Yeah. In this case, using a gun to allegedly commit murder, and they don't take in consideration the consequences and the repercussions of their actions until it's too late.
What do you think he's thinking about when he's running?
What have I done?
What have I done, and how do I get away with it?
Yep.
Where do you think he is, and is somebody helping him stay out there?
Well, he's young. I would say he's not doing this on his own. He has to have help somewhere. We just, at this point of the investigation, don't know where that is.
How big of a danger is Tajon to the public?
The suspect allegedly committed murder, and there's no reason not to consider him armed and dangerous. If he's done it once, there's nothing to say he won't do it again.
Detective Weaver, we're going to help you get this guy.
Thanks. I
Thank you,
hope the next time I see you, you got somebody in custody.
You and me both.
Keep up your good work.
Thank you, sir.
We really need to get justice for Sharon Clark and the family left behind. Now, Sharon's mother, Antoinette Clark, has been working hard to keep this story in the headlines, and she joins us here tonight. We're happy to have you. Very nice meeting you.
Likewise.
Hate to meet you under these circumstances. Again, I always say it, we belong to the same club.
Yes, thank you.
Buried a child.
Yes.
Tough.
What made him such a special person?
He was very open-hearted. He took care of many people. Anytime someone called him, he always said, I got you.
Mm.
That's the kind of person Sharon was. He's very loving.
Lots of people loved your son.
Yes.
Lots
yes.
of people loved him.
Yes.
Now, Tajon, have you ever met him? Do you know what he was like?
Yes, I met him when he was a little kid. He was a wonderful kid. He was very happy. He was proud that Sharon was his stepfather.
Any red flags that something like this could have happened?
No, I had no idea that that was what happened. I was very shocked. My son took care of him when his father wasn't around. You know, he made sure he made it to school. He finished school.
What if he's watching this? What would you say to him?
I just need to know why.
Mm-hmm.
Why he did this to my son when my son took care of him. I need to know why.
You just need that question answered.
Yes, I need him to turn himself in.
Hopefully the next time I see you, we'll have that guy right here and you'll get some answers.
Thank you.
You deserve some answers. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Brave lady. God bless you.
Thank you.
Tajon Gill is 6'2", and when last seen weighed 150 pounds. He's 22 years old with black hair and brown eyes. He's wanted for first-degree murder. Authorities say that while he had locks the last time he was seen, it's likely he's changed his appearance. The crime happened in Hagerstown, Maryland. About 1 month later, authorities received information that Gill was staying with someone in the Chambersburg area in Pennsylvania, but they were not able to locate him at the time. Authorities believe he could be anywhere in the United States. If you see Tajon Gill, call us immediately at 866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com.
When we come back, we'll review all of the dangerous fugitives you saw tonight. But first, police are on the lookout for a sneaky masked thief who's been caught on camera not once, but twice, and is still on the loose. Check out this bold guy. Back in August, as he pries open a gas station window. He's certainly familiar with this technique, and he's got the gear to prove it. While he walks away empty-handed, it's clear that he knows exactly what he's doing and how to do it. Because the next day, he's at it again. Watch as he sneaks behind the counter at this convenience store, keeping a literal low profile as he rifles through the register, taking $2,000 from the office and around $500 taken from the cash register. Take a long, hard look at this face. Does it look familiar? If you have any information about this crime or this sneaky suspect in South Carolina, contact us right now. 866-AMW-TIPS or at amwtips.com. Three masked men with guns rushed the door of this home in Auburn, Washington at 2 in the morning, yelling Seattle police, before violently throwing themselves into the door, attempting to kick it down. What they weren't expecting was the quick-thinking homeowner who's armed and starts firing shots back at them from inside, sending them running into the night. Police in Auburn believe it may be part of a larger crime pattern targeting Asian families in the area. They've made one arrest, Devontae Leach, here in the black hoodie, but the other two scumbags are still at large. We really need your help to identify and track them down. Take a good look. Do either of these men look familiar? Two black males, one in their 20s or 30s, at least 6 feet tall. If you have any information, call us or go to our site immediately.
Let's take one last look at the fugitives we need your help to find. Remember, we can't do this without you. So if you have any tips about the cases you saw tonight, please do the right thing and call us now.
Edgardo, a.k.a. Eddie Luis Perez, is wanted for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution for felony murder. He's 41 years old with black hair and brown eyes. He's 5'6" when last seen, about 140 to 160 pounds. Authorities say he likes to work out and may belong to a gym. His last known location was Tijuana, Mexico, and he's fluent in Spanish and is very skilled at charming his victims before stealing their identities.
David Young is 43 years old, 6 feet tall, and the left side of his face is covered in tattoos. There's possibly a bird or spider web below his left eye, a symbol above that same eye, and some sort of star near his right eye, and what appears to be a child's face on the right side of his neck. He's got brown hair and brown eyes and weighed about 170 pounds the last time anyone saw him. He's considered armed and very dangerous. He's wanted for conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute and to distribute a controlled substance.
Tajon Gill is 6'2" and when last seen weighed around 150 pounds. He's 22 years old with black hair and brown eyes. He's wanted for first-degree murder. Authorities say that while he had locks the last time he was seen, it's likely he has changed his appearance. If you see any of these fugitives, don't approach them, call us at 866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com. Now, coming up next week on America's Most Wanted, 23-year-old Sandy Lee was a young Vietnamese immigrant who had a bright future ahead of her. So when authorities discovered her body, everyone was shocked. But while the answers would eventually turn up, one of the suspects allegedly responsible for her death would not. Can you help us get her family the justice they so deserve?
I'm Callahan Walsh.
And I'm John Walsh. Thanks very much for watching. And remember, you can make a difference. I'm John Walsh, and I've dedicated my entire life to locking up the worst criminals. Since 1988, we've caught 1,191 fugitives.
We're tracking down one of the most ruthless gangs of lawbreakers we've ever gone after,
including several of the FBI's most wanted. And we've reunited dozens of missing children with their families. But the job continues, and this time, my son Callahan joins the fight. With your help, we're going to put more low-life criminals behind bars, including these that you'll see tonight. First, we need your help to find the man police believe is behind a double murder and police shootout.
Shots fired!
Burning down the family farm before disappearing into the Wisconsin woods. Then, it was one of the biggest gold heists in U.S. history, and even more monumental was how anyone could have pulled it off. And finally, a 14-year-old boy is wanted for a deadly shooting spree at a Texas convenience store, and the teen's accomplice was none other than his own father. America's Most Wanted is the original true crime series. You can run, but you can't hide. Hello, everyone. I'm John Walsh.
I'm Callahan Walsh.
And this is America's Most Wanted. We are back again tonight with a lineup of dangerous fugitives that we really need your help to find.
The AMW catch counter is currently at 1,191 catches because of your tips. And I know that tonight, with your help, we can get that number even higher.
Now, as always, we have our team of investigators, local and state police, and the FBI, all standing by for your information about these cases. Please send us your tips, and don't forget you can remain anonymous. Let's make the world a much smaller place for these scumbags. So let's get right to it. A horrifying double murder and police shootout rocks a quiet Wisconsin farm town, and the man suspected to be behind it all disappears without a trace. Authorities now desperately need your help to find him.
Happy birthday, dear Daddy.
My parents were Jim and Nedra Lemke. They were high school sweethearts and had been together ever since then. They had 5 kids. I am the second oldest. I have a brother, Joe. There's myself, my sister, Amanda, and a brother, Jacob and Josh.
Both of my parents were very involved in the community, their entire lives, very involved in the church, very involved in their kids' lives. They worked with a youth group, taking a lot of foster kids to the home. As much as my parents were known for helping people, my uncle, Kevin, my mom's brother, was a black sheep of the family.
As the son-in-law of Jim and Nedra Lemke, I am married to their daughter, Amanda. My wife, Amanda, does obviously still struggle with talking about the past and trying to make sense of what happened and why it happened. I would see Kevin every Christmas Eve over at the family farm property. Kevin was just kind of that kind of tough guy persona, hunting and fishing, and he'd talk about pickup trucks and guns and drinking, and he had troubles with the law and drugs and alcohol.
He was that uncle that you didn't talk to because you felt uncertain around him.
He was always a very intimidating personality for me. He had an intense just persona about him. His parents, my grandparents, lived out on a family farm. There's about 40 acres of farmable land and horses, pigs, a couple cows, just your rural Wisconsin farmer. Kevin, the oldest son, was always the executor of the will. As my grandfather got older, my mom was the one taking them to all their doctor's appointments, and she was the primary caregiver in managing their health and managing the farm.
Due to all of the support my mother had given to my grandfather over the years, my grandfather decided to make my mother the executor over my uncle.
As my grandfather got closer to death, the conversations between my mother and Kevin became more heated. He had thought the farm was going to be his.
In June 2020, my grandfather Virdal passed.
When my grandfather passed, my dad asked me if I would be carrying a gun at the funeral. Being a former Green Beret, I spent 8 years in the Army Special Forces. He knows I have guns, so I asked him why. My dad, for a quote, said, because Kevin's going to be there, and I'm not sure how he's going to act. So I agreed to do that. It was definitely a gigantic red flag of kind of where the tension in the relationship was.
4 days after Virdal's funeral, Nedra reaches out to her brother Kevin about some rather routine chores she wanted to do at their parents' farm. Jim and Nedra arrive at the farm later that evening, but something seems off. They notice several broken windows. At 5:48 p.m., they call 911 to report a potential burglary.
Jefferson County 911.
Hi there. I'm taking care of my parents' house, and there's windows broken out and windows open.
Please don't go in, because we don't know if someone's still in there.
All right.
That would be the last phone call she ever made. What the couple don't realize is Nedra's brother, Kevin Anderson, is stationed inside the farmhouse at the second-story window, armed with a hunting rifle. He fires 2 fatal shots. The first one hitting Nedra in the abdomen, and then a second shot hitting Jim. 12 minutes after Nedra's 911 call, a Jefferson County Sheriff's deputy arrives in response. He notices the bodies of Nedra and Jim. Recognizing there may be an active shooter, he seeks cover behind his vehicle.
595.
Just as the deputy is radioing for backup,
Shots fired at the residence! Shots fired! Shots fired!
not knowing the shooter's line of sight, the deputy makes a run across the property away from the home.
.595 upper window.
The deputy seeks cover in a nearby ditch with tall grass.
595, I have a female laying down next to the vehicle, one male in the back.
Minutes pass while the deputy waits in the ditch. Once he sees backup arriving, he radios that he's making his way towards them.
581 coming to you.
While the deputy was seeking cover, police believe Kevin Anderson intentionally lit his parents' house on fire. Most likely as a diversion. After the home burned, officers descend on the property and discover Nedra and Jim's deceased bodies. Law enforcement search the property and find no signs of Kevin Anderson. Later, forensics inspected the remnants of the home and found no evidence of the shooter's remains or the hunting rifle. A manhunt was led through the surrounding rural farm areas, which includes dense woods and marshland. They were unsuccessful in locating the suspect. It's believed he escaped to another state or has fled to the Wisconsin wilderness.
All right, now we've got a lot to unpack in this case. Later, we're going to talk to Jim and Nedra Lemke's children about this horrible murder. But right now, the focus is on where Kevin Anderson could be.
Authorities believe Anderson has likely fled Jefferson County, but based on the fact he's an avid outdoorsman, it's highly likely that he's somewhere in the woods.
How far is Sumner to Canada?
It's about an hour west of Milwaukee and about 500 miles south of the Canadian border, but the northern parts of Wisconsin and the surrounding states are heavily wooded and can be pretty remote, making them perfect hiding places for Anderson.
Reminds me of Ted Kaczynski, you know, the Unabomber that hid in the woods for so many years. Well, if you're a hunter or outdoorsman in the north woods of Wisconsin, Minnesota, or Michigan, please keep a lookout for this creep.
Kevin Anderson is now 65 years old with brown hair and blue eyes. He's 6 feet tall and when last seen weighed 200 pounds. If you see Anderson, do not approach him. He's considered armed and very dangerous. Call or go to our website, 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com.
Coming up next, we'll learn even more about this story when we return. We talk to two of Jim and Nedra's children and hear what they have to say about their uncle, the man police say allegedly killed their parents. Plus, in North Carolina, one of the biggest gold heists in the history of the country baffles authorities. Can you send the tip that will close this case for good? And later on, a gang of thieves break into a Southern California pet store, stealing $100,000 worth of French bulldogs. Now, we need your help to find these guys. And remember, you can make a difference. Welcome back. As we just saw in the summer of 2020, police in Sumner, Wisconsin, responded to a call of a potential burglary at the Anderson family farm. And when an officer arrived, he was immediately met by the sight of Nedra and Jim Lemke's bodies and an onslaught of gunfire. While the officer ran for cover, Kevin Anderson allegedly set the house on fire and fled, and he hasn't been seen since. Let's hear about the charges Kevin Anderson is facing and what Nedra and Jim's children have to say about it.
Shots fired at the resident. Shots fired.
Jefferson County Assistant District Attorney filed charges against Kevin Anderson, including 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide.
I was contacted by my oldest brother, Joe. Joe goes, he just says they're gone. And he just said it like 3 times in a row. And he's like, the farmhouse is gone. And they're gone.
It's been 3.5 years now since this all happened. And I mean, I still pretty much think about it every day. And I know it weighs on my wife, and I know it weighs on my boys, too. We don't know where he is. We don't know if he has any interest in us or in our lives, or if he is alive. Is he keeping tabs on us? We have no idea. And that's just really why I really want Kevin to be found, so I can let my guard down and enjoy my family.
When I think about that they're gone, I'm sad about the way they died, the needless pain. I miss my mother's hugs. You can't get that back.
Absolutely heartbreaking story for all involved. And Jim and Nedra's children, Josh and Jen, are here tonight. Thank you for having the courage to come here.
Thanks. You know, after a tragic loss like this, how are you both coping?
I think there's a lot of anticipation because he hasn't been found.
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating.
I'd like to see resolved.
You need justice.
What do you miss most about your parents?
Their presence. That's an easy one for me, because right before they passed, I got engaged, so they weren't at the wedding. You don't have a dad to talk to about the first purchase of your house, or a mom to talk to about your first kid.
I waited my whole life to be a grandparent. It's a special job.
Yeah. I think my dad was my biggest validator. Now there's a big gap with a massive unknown out there.
What about you, Jim?
Just the family dynamic of being able to see them. I can't call them and ask them questions anymore.
What would it do for your family if we caught Kevin?
None of the family feels very safe. We all have some type of safety protection or measures, and it just kind of sits in the back of my mind. I don't want him out there to hurt somebody else. I would like resolution and justice for my parents, and I'd like to make sure that he's, taken care of and put away.
Off those streets, because he's a loose cannon, isn't he? He's dangerous.
Oh, for sure.
It's so sad you have to look over your shoulder for that creep. But I hope our audience is going to help you tonight catch this dirtbag.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for being here.
God bless.
Kevin Anderson is 65 years old and 6 feet tall with brown hair and blue eyes. When he was last seen, he weighed 200 pounds. He's an avid outdoorsman and hunter and was very familiar with the wooded areas that surrounded the family farm. If you're camping or hunting and you see this guy or have any information about this case, don't hesitate. Call us at 866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com.
Coming up next, an extremely elaborate gold heist in North Carolina. But authorities were stumped. Who were they and how did they do it? We'll learn all about this intriguing case when we return. And later on, 14-year-old Abel Acosta walked into a Texas gas station and allegedly opened fire, killing 3 other teenagers. Well, he's on the run, and we need your tips to find this punk. Now, all night we'll need your help with these local crimes happening all across the country. Crimes could be happening in your town. Just after 1 a.m. at the Top Dog Pet Store in Gardena, California last November. Shocking surveillance shows the gang breaking in and heading for the prized pets. And while alarms sound and the dogs bark, these suspects drag the dogs' cages straight to their getaway vehicle, an unmarked white Chevy cargo van with California plates 8T18982. That was waiting in the parking lot. The burglars managed to steal 12 of the purebred dogs, including puppies, worth almost $100,000. Look at these dirtbags flinging these innocent dogs into the van. They also stole $2,000 in cash from the register. And all of it happened in under 5 minutes. If you know anything about these dog nappers, no tip is too small. Call us or go to our website right now, 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. This next case comes from North Carolina, where a big rig carrying almost $5 million in gold was ambushed on a remote stretch of I-95. By the time the authorities arrived at the scene, the gold bars were gone, and the only thing that remained were a whole lot of questions. Let's see how they pulled it off.
In my years as sheriff, this is definitely one of the most bizarre cases that has ever occurred. Armed guards being robbed, but gold is taken. It was something that you would think would come out of a movie.
March 5th, 2015, motorists are driving along Route 95 in Wilson County, North Carolina. Route 95 is a major north-south freeway that runs along the east coast of the U.S., from Miami all the way to northern Maine.
A semi-truck was traveling down the interstate with the 2 security guards, the driver and the passenger. They worked for an armored carrier company, and they were transporting this gold and silver from a refinery down here in South Florida, and they were heading up to Massachusetts to deliver the gold. And the business would take the gold and melt it down and make jewelry or coins. This is pretty common.
The driver and the passenger, they smell a strong odor, which got to them to where they felt like they needed to vomit. The driver then pulled the truck over to the right shoulder of the road.
By the time they made it out of the truck, it was too late. Presumably, they were setting up these construction cones to make it as though this was just a normal semi-truck broke down on the side of the road and a repair van had just pulled up and was going to repair it.
They take over 6 barrels of gold and silver and place it inside the minivan.
The subjects who robbed the truck took a total of 10 gold bars, talking about 275 pounds of gold, as well as some silver coins worth $4.5 million to $5 million.
People start calling in some very bizarre sights along the side of the freeway.
911, what's your emergency? There's some gentlemen at a truck with handcuffs that are at mile marker 114.
Looks like they've got some sort of guard uniform on. They've got their hands zip tied behind their back, trying to flag people down and call the police.
When the sheriff's office and law enforcement showed up out there, they find these 2 uniformed security guards zip-tied, and they tell this elaborate story of how they were robbed on the side of the highway of gold bars. It was the 4th largest gold heist in the country. The story just didn't make sense, and the only plausible answer at the time was, this has got to be an inside job. We're combing through all the driver and the passengers' phone records, bank records. I mean, we were really trying to flush out this possibility that this was an inside job. 2 security guards agreed to take a polygraph to clear their name, and both of them passed with flying colors. They had nothing to do with the robbery at all. Leaves you with this dead-end conclusion of, how would anyone even know what was on this truck? The 2 security guards weren't involved, so it really just made it challenging to find out who really is behind this operation.
Wow, what a heist. You got a big rig transporting an extremely large amount of gold. Now, Kelly, wouldn't they use an armored car, safer, smaller?
I mean, you'd think so, but an armored car is going to get a lot of attention. But there are so many big rigs out there, it'd be a lot easier for them to blend in. The other advantage is that a big rig can go for over 2,000 miles without refueling. When you're transporting such an expensive amount of goods, every time you make a stop, it's an opportunity that you could get robbed. Just last year at the Toronto Pearson International Airport, a cargo container with $17.2 million in gold and cash was stolen from a warehouse, and that case still remains unsolved.
It's crazy, but in 2024, gold heists are still happening. It sounds like something out of the Wild West.
It's definitely less common these days.
Now authorities had no idea who was behind the big rig heist or how they did it. We'll find out more about who authorities say was behind this record-breaking heist. And we'll talk to a reformed jewel thief to get his take on the case. Then later we continue our look at robberies of every variety, like these creeps who cops say followed a man and his son home from the bank, and this serial bank robber in Arizona. But right now we're looking back at a Florida bank robber and jail escapee that we busted way back in 1988, Mark Austin Goodman.
Right after last week's program, Mark Austin Goodman, wanted for at least 10 bank robberies in Oklahoma, was found in jail under an alias. He was busted by fellow inmates, but while in handcuffs, he escaped, his 7th escape from custody. Goodman has been a fugitive since March 4th, when he walked out of the Pinellas County Jail in Florida. He'd actually convinced an officer he was scheduled for release. At 4:06 Monday afternoon, 18 hours after his escape, Goodman was arrested by Jupiter Police and finally admitted his true identity. 45 minutes later, he was returned to the custody of the United States Marshals.
Now, with your help, we'll catch even more of these dirtbags. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. Police say that an elaborate ambush of a truck carrying almost $5 million in gold was successful. But who were the thieves and how did they do it? Let's find out.
The FBI evidence response team is assigned to conduct a search of that truck. When we examined the interior of the vehicle, we noticed that there was a hole in the floor of the cab. And the hole was probably about ½ an inch in diameter. And from that hole, we could see that it led to a larger box. Tucked in very discreetly We found a fire extinguisher that appeared to be modified. We also found an electronic control unit, and there was also a GPS tracker. What we suspect happened, they were able to remotely activate the fire extinguisher and cause that odor to occur within the cab of the truck and force them to pull over.
10 months later, in January 2016, we got a call from a woman who had told us that she was in a relationship with a man that bragged that he had robbed a truck up in North Carolina and got an incredible amount of gold. She even saw the gold herself and the money and the guns. The woman identified the man as a guy by the name of Adalberto Perez. Immediately, we start learning who is Adalberto Perez. We start digging into his financials, to his phone records. The cell towers that his phone used, we were able to trace his whereabouts from South Florida, heading up to North Carolina, right where the robbery occurred, and then turning around and then appearing back down in South Florida after the robbery. And we were able to come up with another name, Roberto Cabrera. 4th grade education, but was able to come up with this elaborate plan and build these elaborate tools.
They had Cabrera, they had Perez, but they still had one more suspect to identify.
When we were talking to Roberto Cabrera and debriefing him about the robbery, he finally gave us the name of Pedro Santamaria. Who is Pedro Santamaria? He was like a ghost. The addresses he had came back to nothing. He had over 50 aliases. He'd been arrested countless times. So with the fingerprints, we're able to start tying all these aliases and all these different names of individuals who committed crimes, and we find out that it's all been committed by the same person. We don't know what he did with all the gold. They split the gold up into thirds. 3 1/3 gold bars, you're talking about $1.5 to $1.75 million worth of gold. Adalberto Perez and Roberto Cabrera both cooperated with us and ultimately were convicted and sentenced. But Pedro Santamaria is the only one in this case that still hasn't been held accountable for what he did that day. Pedro had actually been spotted in Mexico back in 2019. Weren't able to get our hands on him at the time. I'm fairly confident that he is still in the Mexico-Texas border area.
We definitely got to get this guy to bring him to justice because what he done to these victims is not something that should be allowed. Plus, this guy has $1 million of gold in which he shouldn't have in his possession.
Now we're joined by someone who has completely reformed themselves and knows firsthand how these types of heists work. Former jewelry store robber and now criminal educator, Brian Sobolewski. Brian, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
You actually served 3 years in prison for the crimes that you committed.
Correct.
But now you've turned your life around and you actually educate the public and even law enforcement on how these types of criminals operate.
I was convicted of armed robbery. I was convicted of larceny, and I was convicted of conspiracy.
How long did you do that for?
We robbed 22 stores over 5 years. We probably did about 3 a year.
So mostly jewelry stores?
All jewelry stores.
All jewelry stores.
Yep.
How are you helping law enforcement now?
At first, it was almost by mistake, because anytime somebody did a robbery that was like ours, I would get questioned. So they would sit me down and say, here's the job. How would you guys do it? And they tried to, be tough with me, but after a while, they realized they didn't have to. I was happy to help them out if they needed it.
Now, authorities say these guys got away with more than $5 million in gold and silver. How do you think they were able to pull this off? I mean, that's a lot of gold.
Yep. Planning. It's planning. It's a dry run. It's going over it again and again and again. And it's having people that know this industry.
Now, somebody has a gold bar. Can you melt it down, and will jewelers buy it from you?
I've never seen a gold bar, and all the gold that I have seen, they're very distinctive. You can't go into a jewelry store and, hey, can you show me the gold bars?
Yeah.
Once you have it melted down and turn it into jewelry.
But you got to know how to do that.
You have to, and you have to have a tight circle of people
and
that you trust.
Who do you learn that from?
It's a good question. You either do it by trial and error and then end up doing some time. I used to call prison university, because if you're not in there to reform yourself, you're going to learn how to do your crime and the mistakes that you made and probably go out and do it again.
Now, in this case, 2 out of the 3 suspects were caught. They obviously made some mistakes. How do you think Santamaria has been able to avoid law enforcement for this long?
He's smart. He has a very tight-knit group of people. If he has multiple identities, I can make up a name right now and ask you to call me that name, but I need a license. That's very difficult to do, and you don't trust multiple people to do that.
If you could say something to the suspect we're looking for, Santa Maria, what would you say to him?
Oh boy, you're in a heap of trouble. And as you look forward down the road, you're looking at them breathing down your neck, and that circle gets tighter because of the show. And I'll tell you, I was on the run for a year. Hated it.
It is tough.
I didn't drive my car once out of the front windshield. I was looking in the back windshield the whole time. Yeah. It's miserable. It took years off my life.
But let me ask you, did you ever think you'd be on America's Most Wanted? You're on it.
No, absolutely. Well, I was so excited because I started watching it in prison. The inmates get quiet. They said, mostly because they want to see if they know anybody on there.
America's Most Wanted was the #1 show in prison.
You're a legend in prison. I'm honored you called me a dirtbag. So I'm honored to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here, that you've turned your life around.
Thanks, John.
And you're doing something very, very positive.
I appreciate that.
So we need to catch this guy tonight, but thanks for the help.
You're welcome. I'm glad
Keep up the good work.
Thanks, John.
All right.
Pedro Santamaria is a black Hispanic male who is 5'7" and when last seen was bald and weighed 180 pounds. He's now 61 years old with brown eyes and may have black hair. He has a noticeable scar on his left forearm. He used up to 50 different aliases in the past, so he might be going by a different name. His prior arrests include robbery and aggravated assault. If you see Pedro Santamaria, do not approach him. He's considered armed and very dangerous. Call us or go to our website immediately.
Up next, 14-year-old Abel Acosta allegedly opened fire in a Texas convenience store, firing 20 rounds in 9 seconds and taking the lives of 3 innocent teenagers. But first, did this crime happen in your community? Disturbing footage out of Arizona tonight. A serial bank robber, often dressed in scrubs, who held up 3 banks in 4 months. Starting on August 12th at approximately 10:45 a.m., watch Dr. Dirtbag leave Chase Bank at 1821 East Guadalupe Road after handing the teller a note stating that he was armed with a gun. He does it again on October 6th around 9:55 a.m. at the U.S. Bank located on 1 North McDonald in Mesa, Arizona. And again, November 3rd around 9 a.m. when he returns to that Chase Bank in Tempe. This time he verbally demands the cash box, apparently holding here what I guess you'd call a handgun. Then, impatient, climbs over the counter to get it himself. He's described as a black male, aged 25 to 30 years old, 5'10" to 6 feet tall, weighing around 220 pounds. Take notice of the tattoos on his arms and the earring in his right ear. Look familiar? If you have any information on this creep, call us or go to our website, 866-AMW-TIPS, or at amwtips.com. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. You know, I want to use this program to not only find fugitives, but to find the many, many missing children that are out there and get them home to their families where they belong. So, have you seen Andrew Escobar? He's been missing since last June 25th. Andrew is 11 years old with brown hair and brown eyes. He's 4'11" and last known to weigh around 95 pounds. He likes to play chess and rock climb. While Andrew was last seen in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, family tells us he may now be in northern Colorado, specifically the Evans and Greeley area. So if you've seen Andrew, please call us right now, 866-AMW-TIPS, or go to amwtips.com. Let's find this little boy. Cal, back to you.
In 2021, 14-year-old Abel Acosta walked into a Garland convenience store and opened fire. Within seconds, 3 were dead, 1 was injured, and with the help of his father, Acosta was gone. Authorities now need your help to locate and apprehend this alleged murder, to put him behind bars where he belongs. We're going to talk with Yuneli Lopez, the mother of one of the murdered teenagers in that convenience store. With so many young people involved, we know that this content is sensitive, so please note, this footage could be upsetting for some.
It's the day after Christmas 2021 in Garland, Texas, a town just outside Dallas, and unfortunately for that community, any sense of holiday cheer is about to disappear. Police say that's when the actions of a 14-year-old, Abel Acosta, and his father, Richard Acosta Jr., destroyed the lives of 3 local families forever. On December 26, 2021, 2 friends, 17-year-old Rafael Garcia and 16-year-old Ivan Noyola, seen here on surveillance video, are shopping at a local Texaco gas station, not knowing that they're being targeted. Authorities believe that Rafael and Ivan had previously gotten into an argument with another teenager named Abel Acosta. The argument was possibly over a necklace. Cops say Abel's father helped his son track down Rafael and Ivan by driving him to the convenience store that night, even going so far as to walk inside to possibly see where Rafael and Ivan were. Watch as the 14-year-old suspected murderer leaves his father's truck and creeps into position with his gun drawn. Then, in a matter of seconds, the teenage murder suspect unleashes a deadly barrage of gunfire. Abel Acosta runs to his father's getaway vehicle, and they both flee the scene. Both Rafael and Ivan tragically died that night, and so did another boy who had never met any of the teenagers, a 14-year-old named Xavier Gonzalez, seen here on his phone. Xavier had simply gone to the store that night to pick up some food for his family.
He went for the tacos and then came back. Me and my family, it's not the same no more. We don't have them here, and it's not fair.
The next day, Abel Acosta's accused getaway driver, his own father, Richard Acosta Jr., turned himself in and was eventually convicted on capital murder charges for his part in the killing of 3 teenage boys.
Abel Acosta's family members helped him get away. They're not cooperating with us.
This investigation will not sleep until we actually get that person off the street.
And now Xavier's family are hoping for that one tip that will bring them justice.
Somebody's helping him out there. It's not fair how they took my son's life away. He was a really smart little kid. He always had a smile, always.
3 teenage boys lost their lives that night. One of them, 14-year-old Xavier Gonzalez, had never even met Abel Acosta. His mother, Yuneli Lopez, is here with us tonight. Nellie, thank you for joining us. And
thank you very much.
It really breaks my heart to see such a pointless murder.
Thank you.
Now, Xavier was just 14 years old, the youngest of the 3 that were murdered that day. Tell us about your son.
He was a good student. He will help me out a lot with my daughters. He will help my husband a lot working. And everything you will ask him, he would do it. He will help out.
Sounds like a good kid.
Yes, he was.
This occurred just the day after Christmas. What have the holidays been like since his passing?
They've been awful holidays for us. It's not the same no more at all. Our Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, birthdays, it's not the same no more. It's just that he was the one that would keep us all happy, laughing, joking around.
Now, take us back to when you found out what had happened that day.
He wanted some tacos from the corner. Tried to call him. He wouldn't pick up. He was always picking up on the first call. That's where I kind of got concerned. When we got there, I took off running to the gas station. They didn't let me go into the gas station at all. And that's when I turned around and I saw my sister, and I went over there to her and I asked her, Xavier, he's gone. And I was like, no, it's not true. She was like, yeah, he's gone. And I was like, no, it's not true. And they were asking me what kind of clothes he had. And that's when they told me that it was him there. And he passed away.
He's your angel now, you know that. I didn't want to make you cry, but I wanted you to come here and give you some hope. That's what this show's about, hope. You know, I was going to ask you what you would say to somebody that knows where this creep is.
To please turn him in. Don't stay quiet. Stop hiding him.
We'll find that bad guy.
Thank you very much for everything that you have done, and I hope they do get him.
God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nellie. Be on the lookout for Abel Acosta. The crime happened in Garland, Texas, where some of his family still resides. Authorities believe there may also be a family ranch near Llano de Bustos, Veracruz, Mexico. The Acosta family may have other ties to Acapulco and Juarez, Mexico. Abel Acosta is now 16 years old. He's a Hispanic male with brown eyes and brown hair. When last seen, he was 5'5" and weighed 125 pounds.
Now let's find this guy. If you've seen Abel Acosta or have any information about this case, whether you're in the U.S. or across the border in Mexico, contact us right now at 866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com. I've said it a million times. You can run, but you can't hide. Now, when we come back, we're going to review all of the cases and the dangerous fugitives that you saw tonight. But first, can you help us solve this crime alert? You're about to watch disturbing footage of a home burglary in Tacoma near 33rd and Mason. Even more disturbing, the suspects left the scene only 15 minutes before the homeowners returned. The female burglar approaches the front door and knocks to see if anyone is home, while her partner is casing the side and back of the home. After being inside for over 30 minutes, cameras captured her partner leaving the residence with multiple bags of stolen goods. He loads the stolen items into the getaway truck, a 2021 or newer gray Toyota Tacoma, which included jewelry, personal documents, including a birth certificate, and a debit card that they used for $1,000 at Dick's Sporting Goods. If you've seen these suspects in the Tacoma area, don't hesitate and contact us right now. Send your tips to 866-AMW-TIPS or at amwtips.com. Terrifying home footage that no one ever wants to see. 3 men following a Texas man and his stepson home from a bank in an attempted jugging crime near Dallas last September. Now watch as the man pulls into his driveway around 1 p.m. and the suspects block his car with their SUV. These jerks jump out, handguns drawn, and swarm the victim's vehicle, attempting to open the doors while pounding on the windows, demanding that he give it up. Unbelievably, one of the suspects tries to break the driver's side window with his elbow, but the victim has another plan and hits the gas, with the suspect still holding on to his doors, forcing these losers to let go and retreat to their vehicle empty-handed. Jugging possibly originated from the slang term jug, which means a large sum of money. It's an increasingly popular crime where criminals follow their victims as they leave a bank or ATM after withdrawing cash. And it's happening more and more. Here's another shocking video of a jugging that took place in Plant City, Florida, also last September. This cell phone video taken by a witness shows a man climbing out of a pickup that he broke into to grab the manila envelope that you can see him holding here, containing the victim's cash. Police say the suspect may have followed the female victim who was making a withdrawal from the Bank of America. He was seen leaving the area in a silver Honda Pilot with the Florida tag B5D-NZF. If you know anything about these incidents or these suspects, please contact us right now, 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. Remember, you're our partner in this, so if you have any tips, big or small, about the cases you saw tonight, please contact us immediately. Kevin Anderson is 65 years old, brown hair and blue eyes. He's 6 feet tall, and his last known weight was around 200 pounds. Anderson is an avid outdoorsman and may be living off the grid in a wooded area in the northern Midwest. If you see him, do not approach him. He's considered armed and very dangerous.
Pedro Santamaria is 5'7" with brown eyes, and at the time he was last seen, was bald and weighed 180 pounds. He's a black Hispanic male who's 61 years old and may have black hair. He also has a scar on his left forearm. He's originally from Cuba, so there's some speculation that he has returned to his home country. There's a reward of $10,000 for information that leads to his arrest.
Abel Acosta is a 16-year-old Hispanic male with brown eyes and brown hair. When last seen, he was 5'5" and weighed about 125 pounds. His last known location was Garland, Texas. If you live in Texas or in Mexico, we got to get this alleged murderer off the streets as soon as possible.
If you see any of these fugitives in public, do not approach them. Contact us at 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com.
Coming up next week on America's Most Wanted. A Texas woman survives a savage knife attack
White settlement 911.
with the help of a quick-thinking 911 operator.
I've got blood all over me.
Now police need your help to find the monster responsible.
I'm Callahan Walsh.
And I'm John Walsh. Thank you for watching. And remember, you can make a difference. Good job, bro.